Many college students today think about language differently than we do. We distinguish things that you say from the things that you do. For many college students today that I work with, they don't make that distinction. They see language and violence as the same thing. If they hear an idea that they disagree with, they will often respond with, "You are doing violence to me and my community." They say, well, if you say things that are offensive or hateful, then my use of violence is just violence to defend myself against other violence.
Our first invitee here is Representative Manweller.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Representative Matt Manweller from the 13th Legislative District, although I suspect that you have invited me to testify today more in my capacity as a college professor for the last 19 years. Over the past few years, we've seen an uncomfortable increase in the amount of violence on college campuses, probably more so than at any other time since the Vietnam War. Incidents at Middlebury, Yale, Berkeley, the University of Washington, and of course, Evergreen. These events have led many professors and students to ask, why has this happened? What has changed in the last few years to lead to the increase in violence? And what are causing these increased incidences? So one, I don't believe that the students are learning this behavior in high schools. I haven't seen anything to suggest or indicate that high school teachers are teaching that violence is an acceptable response to ideas that one disagrees with. I'm friends with many high school teachers. My wife is a teacher. I still visit many high school classrooms, so I don't think they're coming to colleges with this attitude. And if that's the case, then we need to assume that this is something that they may be learning while at the university or the college environment, and I think that should concern us. Two, many college students today think about language differently than we do or we did. We all remember the childhood phrase, I'm sure, sticks and stones will break my bones, but names will never hurt me. This was our generation and many generations before us, the ability to distinguish between verbal disagreement and physical disagreement, right? And it's the notion that we distinguish things that you say from the things that you do. And generally the attitude is we don't punish you for the things that you say, but we will punish you for physical violence. For many college students today that I work with, they don't make that distinction the way we used to. They see language and violence as the same thing. If they hear an idea that they disagree with, they will often respond with, "You are doing violence to me and my community." If there is a speaker that they disagree with that comes to campus, they will say, "You are making it unsafe for me to be here." They see verbal assaults in some of the same light that we see physical assaults. And I think it's important for your discussion today because it may explain why you're seeing an increase in violence on college campuses. In the past, it was never acceptable to use violence against a speaker that you disagreed with. But if you see speech as violence, then of course the use of violence to combat violence becomes more justified. In talking with my younger millennial college students, they would liken it similar to what we would say in your committee as self-defense, right? Your committee, Law and Justice, says there's a difference between you proactively going out and using violence and you responding to violence with violence of your own. One is a crime, one we consider self-defense. But for many of my college students, they say, well, if you say things that are offensive or hateful, then my use of violence is just violence to defend myself against other violence. And so I don't think people from my generation, maybe your generation, see it that way, but an increasing number of college students see violence, physical violence against what they consider verbal violence as therefore justified. And the third thing that I would say is that a lot of times the violence comes from zealotry. And as any student of history knows, that all zealot movements eventually get to become so enamored with the righteousness of their cause that they adopt this kind of the ends justify the means mentality. And that's nothing unique to this generation. Many movements, if you look at, become captured by the zealot wing. And then, it becomes this notion that what we're doing is so important understand that there can be collateral damage. And if you are a college student and you firmly believe that you are saving the world from environmental catastrophe, if you are eliminating racial injustice, so if you are bringing about social justice, then it might be worth a little violence or something to bring about that cause. And it does kind of lead to this, well, the ends justify the means, and I think we see that. What I'll close with, and I know you have a lot of other people here, is that I'm not sure if laws can fix this problem. We don't really have a legal problem so much as we have a campus cultural problem. It's already illegal to throw a brick at the head of a speaker that you disagree with. It's already illegal to break the arm of a professor that brought a speaker to campus that you disagreed with. It's already illegal to burn buildings because you disagree with a speaker. And so I'm not sure if additional laws will change what we're seeing on campus. But what I think we can do is focus on creating incentives for administrators to alter the culture on campuses so that the environment is truly a place where we do tolerance. And when I use the word tolerance, I mean the word in a tough sense. It's easy to advocate for tolerance if it means that you should only say things that I agree with. But true tough tolerance means that you have to listen to people that you disagree with. And we're not necessarily seeing that. And it's not just Evergreen, Senator Patton. There are lots of universities where we're having this problem. So I appreciate the fact that you've held this hearing today.